Mike Attic.
Hey, Mike.
You know, I was thinking when somebody was doing one of the readings, I can't remember which one it was, but it said, look around the room. We're all here because it was the last resort. And I thought to myself, maybe that was the room when they figured out what they were going to say in that reading. But generally, in any given room, that's not the case. There's plenty of people like me when I got here that this wasn't last resort. My parents caught me. I got the second DUI. My parents shipped me off to treatment. I started hearing stories about stuff I had not even thought about doing, let alone did do. This was about the farthest thing from a last resort as you could imagine at 22 years old. And hearing these stories and hearing all the things that people have done. And I was thinking to myself, you know, this is not cool. I don't want to be here. I'm not like these people. And it's no different than what we just heard. And how do you reconcile that when you know damn well that there's plenty more using you could do? It's just the question if I want to play Russian roulette with it or not. And when I come in here, getting high is all I know. And anything I ever did was high, drunk or on dope or alcohol. And you're asking me basically in my mind to give up everything because I can't imagine doing anything without it. This is me when I got here. And thank goodness in the book on 33 it talks about to be gravely affected, one does not have to drink the quantities or go down as far as some of us have. Drink the quantities, use the quantities. So there's my out right there. That means I can get off the elevator, but will I? You know, and we're talking about what part of the book that she read where it talks about Fred and he talked about self-knowledge. And they got two stories there, Fred and Jim, and they both use the term self-knowledge. Evidently, they're trying to make a point to me because I'm clearly like Fred. I said, I got some of the earmarks, but, hey, thanks for the information. And that story is there because they told Fred, and he admitted he had some things. But he said, thanks for the information. We'll see you guys. And the rest is history. And after he crashed and burned, with what continues with the story, he came back to them. And the meaning of self-knowledge comes clear when I look back in Bill's story where he defines self-knowledge. Self-knowledge can be very misunderstood in meetings. I've heard meetings where the whole meeting is people saying what they think self-knowledge is. It's either how many degrees you have, or how well you know the big book, or how many psychiatrists you've went to. But interestingly enough, it doesn't mean any of those things because Bill defines it on page 7, and it's why he mentions it later in the book where in Fred and Jim's story where she just got through reading. He says on page 7, my incredible behavior in the face of a desperate desire to stop was explained. That was it, self-knowledge. And what he is saying self-knowledge is getting the first step and stopping and not going any further. Saying, I got a couple of earmarks. Now that I know that, I feel so comforted by the fact that at least I know what's wrong with me. I'm just going to be on guard. I think even Fred uses that word in a page or two in his story. It was a matter of just being on guard. See, so the reason that they say, and the reason I need to internalize that self-knowledge will avail me nothing, is because it is saying the same thing as saying, if you get the first step and don't go any farther, it will avail you nothing. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But when we reword it into the idea of self-knowledge, all of a sudden we've got this conundrum, and we don't know what it means. And we have to make up what it means. And the simplicity is right there in front of me if I'm willing to look for it. And it was just shared by somebody. I come in here, it is not the last resort. I'm here to find some information. And I find out that I have some of these earmarks. And the real question for me and for a lot of people is, am I going to give this way of life a chance? Battling through this constant thought when I'm new of what recovery has taken away from me. All those friends, Oh, okay. You mean those friends that never came to see me in treatment? Oh, yeah, those friends. The ones that would leave me when I was too high? Fuck him, he's high. Leave me in my own vomit? Oh, yeah, those great friends, you know. But see, my mind wants me to remember those great friends. But when I get sober and have a lucid interval, I can look back and go, you know what? Those weren't real friends. I've actually met some people in here that actually give a shit about me, and it ain't because I can give them a rock or buy them some drinks. And I'm not saying everybody in here is wearing a fucking halo. Look, I've met more hypocrites in here than I ever met at church. Look, it's a landmine of sick motherfuckers, okay? Just be for real, okay? I've been here all my life. So if you're new, don't be fooled and think that just because somebody's sitting in a room that they're wearing a halo and they're walking a spiritual path. It ain't the case. The real question is, am I going to find and get next to people who are trying to work the right path? Because I can attest to this, and this is as certain as anything I know. The disease will rub off by osmosis, so get around the wrong people in here and see what happens to you. Now, that's the easier path, believe me, because they're going to be going fuck talking about that big book and screw that guy that's talking about the big book. This is just a matter of going to meetings and, hey, we're going to Applebee's after. Well, that stuff works for a minute. And I'm here to tell you, it works for a minute. And then I found myself at a crossroads. And I was like, you know what? I'm miserable and I'm sober. I got to make a decision. And I want to be in control of my decision. I don't want to have it made for me. Because if I wait long enough, the disease is going to make it for me. So right now, as I sit here, I have an opportunity to do what I need to do to keep the decisions in me and God's side of the court. If I leave this program alone long enough and get around the wrong people for long enough and stay away from these meetings for long enough, the decision will be made for me, and I won't have shit to say about it. Just like Fred didn't in one more page, and he's in the hotel lobby, and he knows he needs to go to left and go to bed. He's got a meeting tomorrow, not a cloud on the horizon, and he hears a couple of glasses clanking, and he throws his life away, and the decision was not his own. Today, I have my decision. I have my choice. If you're new, if you're like the person that just shared, if you're like I was when I got here, this is not the last resort, but I have some earmarks. Please give this a chance. But at the very worst, if you go back out there, at least you'll know where to come back to. And please do that. Because I'm not naive to think that everybody in here is going to be here next year just because I've laid down this solution like sweet molasses. Okay? You know, I know I'm going to be here. I know I'm going to be here because I've got a track record of being here. A lot of you don't have a track record of being here. You got a track record of fumbling around and fucking up your life like I did when I got here. We've got to flip the script on the failures and start building some successes. And I guarantee you this program is the way to do that. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, and I'll pass.